morning and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Diana Skaya. In an unprecedented move, South Korean President Yoon Yeol declared martial law across the country late last night, citing the need to uphold constitutional order and eliminate what he described as North Korean elements. Now, this decision came amid rising tensions after the opposition Democratic Party pushed through a reduced budget bill and filed impeachment motions against top government officials. However, just hours after the declaration, when lawmakers gathered at the National Assembly to block the move, with some breaking through barricades to enter the building, the South Korean president reversed the imposition of military rule. Now, to discuss this dramatic turn of events and its implications, I'm joined by Seong Hyeon Choi, Research Fellow, Central European Institute of Asian Studies, and Piotr, Plebaniak, doctoral student at the Chinese Culture University. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with us here on TVP World Talks this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Now, maybe if we can start with Mr. Seong Hyeon. I mean, this is really quite the developments taking place as we speak. Take us through what happened exactly last night and how quickly the president reversed this decision. And to my understanding, if from reports currently, there are impeachment calls, and Yoon Yeol is facing calls to resign after this shocking martial law, which he tried to impose. What is the latest on this?
Yeah, so Yoon, before the incident yesterday, Yoon was cornered by the opposition-led National Assembly, which has been pursuing to pass the bill for special prosecutions on Yoon's corruption scandal surrounding his wife and impeachment bills against the chairman of the Board of Inspection and 3 prosecutors, and also a significant cut of its next year's budget. While it is true that the president would likely to lose momentum for his administration if these bills were to be passed, declaring the martial law prohibiting the National Assembly's parliamentary activities is another story, and it is deemed as an overuse of its authority or even as treason. So while Yoon would have likely taken such an act to strengthen its own government and weaken the opposition, it is likely that it would rather have a reverse effect. And I would say it was politically a counterproductive move. So there was high public opposition against the martial law, complemented by the low approval rating. And the opposition party has already said it would work for the impeachment bill, and it has already submitted the bill just an hour ago. So if Yoon does not resign within this week, we could see within this week we will see a lot of turmoil in incoming days. So we have seen almost every political organization opposing martial law, even his own ruling party leader Han Dong-hoon expressing the opposition. So it is highly likely there would be a significant blow to Yoon's future, and he would not survive this political turmoil with the loss of trust from the South Korean public involving either his resignation or the impeachment by the National Assembly, as we have seen in 2016 when former President Park Geun-hye was impeached for a corruption scandal. So if Yoon steps down from the presidency, South Korea law prescribes that the presidential election must take place within 60 days. So considering that the public opinion has already shifted against Yoon, it's likely that the opposition Democratic Party are rising back to power as it did back in 2017.
And just really briefly, but still, Mr. Seong Hyeon, if you can answer the question, please. What is the country going to look like if this impeachment actually goes through? Because to my understanding, the opposition has officially initiated this impeachment process. So how would the situation in Korea unfold in the days or weeks to come with that?
As to my understanding, the opposition party will go forward with the voting of the impeachment bill by Friday or Saturday, and it needs to get 2/3 of the vote from the parliament, which is highly likely that there are about 190 seats out of 300 seats occupied by the opposition party, and there are some oppositions as well within the ruling TVP at the moment. So it is highly likely that the impeachment bill will be passed by the two-thirds of the seat in the parliament. And if that goes forward, Yoon's authority will all be suspended and as a president, and all the the current prime minister Han Duck-soo will become the acting president on behalf of Yoon's presidency, and the South Korea should hold a by-election of the presidential election within 60 days after it has gone through. Let me rephrase it. So after the presidential election, the presidential election should happen after the Supreme Court actually rules in favor of the impeachment bill, impeachment passed by the parliament, and so that should happen within 2 to 3 months in the upcoming months. Yeah.
Let me ask you now more about how the situation is going to impact Poland and Europe. Now, Poland is a major importer of South Korean arms, has a growing relationship with the country, particularly in trade and technology. How could this political instability affect Poland's interests in the region, particularly like in areas of defense cooperation, economic ties? Piotr?
Well, I would say.
No, sorry.
Relations.
No, Seong, sorry. I'm framing the question to Piotr, please, okay?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I heard the question. Basically, let me refer to what my predecessor said. I spent 2 hours trying to figure out what really happened, because basically what the president of South Korea tried to achieve was to disrupt some kind of trend which was much more dangerous for himself personally or to his party rule in South Korea. So what happened? Nobody could said clearly. I spent a lot of time, as I said before, just moments ago. So that would be extremely interesting for us, if somebody who really understands the situation told us what was to be prevented by this desperate act by the president. And returning to your question, well, basically, South Korea and Poland, we are both a part of this American hegemonic system, and we are maybe not forced, but we are obliged to cooperate in order to confront Russia or North Korea. And this situation became just very, very unstable. So now all the decision makers around the world, including American decision makers who are about to step down, giving place to President Donald Trump, they are not able to predict what is going to happen. And that might be a purpose for this completely unpredictable action by the president of South Korea.
Well,
that's all I can say right now.
What are the possible international repercussions of this move? I mean, you just mentioned that it's unpredictable, but what more can you tell us about what those consequences may be?
Well, in my opinion, now the situation in Ukraine is coming really, really quickly to some kind of peace deal or armistice or any kind of cessation of hostilities between the two states, Russia and Ukraine. So now, if some kind of disturbance is happening in other parts of the world, the attention of the decision makers, analyticians, and all people who are trying to control what is happening, what is going on all around the world, the attention is directed to somewhere else. So basically, because all or any agencies are short-staffed always, and they need to redirect their staff to matters which are more important at any given moment. That might be some kind of complicated game, but maybe I'm just imagining too much. We never know. We will never know, and we don't know it right now. It's let me quote Deng Xiaoping. It's a famous quote. It's too early to judge.
Seong Hyeon, what is North Korea's reaction to this situation that is unfolding?
North Korea would try to take advantage of the situation to influence South Korea's domestic politics. But North Korea is not likely to take any provocative actions for now, as the situation is already in its favor. That would see the depths of the Yoon's power, who have taken a hard line against Pyongyang and emphasize the importance of the alliance with South Korea. And so North Korea would be carefully watching of the political turmoil in the South for now. And if the election takes place, if either Yoon resigns or get impeached by the National Assembly, it is likely to restart staging provocations in attempts to influence election result. There were also some reports concerning connecting Yoon's martial law speech that accused pro-North Korean forces of plotting overthrow the government to like a Russia-North Korea military exchange deal. But I don't think this is actually the case. So the rhetoric of the pro-North Korean forces has traditionally been ruled by the conservative camp to near the progressive camp in South Korea. So Yoon's martial law must be viewed mostly in part of the internal political power struggle and a minimal link to the geopolitical ongoings. But there should be some kind of attempt from Pyongyang to try to take advantages of the ongoing turmoils in South Korea's domestic politics and possibly uncertainties in the US ROK alliance system. Yeah.
Piotr, I saw you just very briefly. I saw you were shaking your head according to what our colleague was saying. Do you have a comment? Because we have just under a minute left. Would you like to comment on what Seong Hyeon just mentioned?
I don't have any
North
comment,
Korea's reaction.
I was just wondering about the same issue. Nobody really understands why President took such a risk of being impeached and introduced the martial law. So I was just shaking my head in disbelief. No comment, no more comment other than this one. My apologies.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Seong Hyeon Choi, research fellow at the Central European Institute of Asian Studies, and Piotr, Plebaniak, a doctoral student from the Chinese Cultural University, for being with us here this morning and giving us insight on the situation unfolding in South Korea. Thanks for being with us here this morning. And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.